Okay, let's just see how heavy this truck is. So this tractor bike that can climb. Let's see. What? 8.00? No way! This heavy wheels? These are cracked wheels. Wow! Big chainring, that's 8.0. No way! With the pursuit bar, I gotta lessen my bike. I have to be at 7.5. Wow!
不要拉爆我们的，後邊。
翻起了，翻起。Hello， 新加坡友，你们好啊！
就在後邊。去年我們見過在 Everesting 在新加坡的時候，你們來，我還有那張照片，你拍過我的。
OK， 那時候在飛那個藍寶飛飛吧，
對。
它應該是怎樣？
一起。他從菲律賓來，我從新加坡這邊一起見面，一起
在 KEO meet 啊，
在啊，對啊，在那個等那那邊 meet 再過來。你們11月有來那個Tour de France嗎
？11月有
啊，好，
幾個朋友過來，
很好。
你過去啊？
應該會去吧，都沒有新加坡都沒有比賽，就去了去看咯。
這個來過嗎？這個
第三次了。
第三次啊！
第三次。哎，難得有在。
我給多你1次過來是。
哎，4次過來。不過好騎，老實講，在快速公路是好騎。新加坡太多交通車，這個燈。
這個也是馬來西亞唯一一個是紅牌的嘛。
對。
沒有其他event了已經。
對，所以特地來騎。你騎78還是104的那個
？100了，100零幾啊，102啊。
啊，對你來說小兒科了。So handsome. 3, 2, 1. Last one. Stomach in. Chest out. Big chest. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Awesome.
Alright, let's get this video rolling. So this will be my straight up observation insights and some general things that I noticed at the event and during the ride, which I'm happy and keen to share with you guys for those who have not had the opportunity to be part of this ride or was part of this ride but was in another segment and etc. Just sharing good vibes with everybody to pass in on this maybe once a lifetime experience of cycling. So we flag off for the 78 km itself. We flag off slightly later. The 105 km peloton has already started, so we started from behind. So at the start of the footage, so you can see it's a bit of a hectic scenario. Everyone is just almost doing a lead out for the sprint, going really, really fast, which I have no idea why. Yeah, but it's important that at the start you always look for a clear line to pedal on your own first. There's simply no reason to be next to someone really that near or next to a group, especially groups and other cyclists that you have never rode before. That's pretty important. You need to find your own rhythm, find your own momentum at the start of the race to ensure that you do not blow up and successfully hang on until the last, I would say, 3 to 5 kilometers to the finish line, because technically that is where, if you're serious, that's where the race really kind of start on the basis. So you can see that right now from the footage it seems really, really fast. It is really, really fast. Out of my 3 years here, this year Lekas seems to be the fastest. I think because the previous 2 years that I was here, it actually rained during the event or even before event, so I guess it was a blessing in disguise that we had a hot afternoon sun all day to grace us for this event, and maybe for these guys to be more courageous with their opening speed for the peloton. Once again, apologies guys that I have not had my telemetry available as of this point yet, until much later in the video, because I was so excited. I actually forgot to turn it on. So I think I'm short of like a 3 kilometers or so if I turn it on. Yeah, but yeah, this is what pretty much the front of the peloton looks like. We actually came in early, say about 5:40 or 6 p.m. And been there waiting under the finishing line. Near the finishing line to the start line for almost an hour and a half before it's our turn for flag off. So as you can see, everyone is right now going at a very high speed on it, something that you usually do not see frequently in Singapore. Yeah, given that this is going to be on a highway, you really have much more road to work with itself and to go off. Yeah, it's essential to also know that there's a chance that this peloton is going really fast at the start of the race right now, simply because I attribute that to maybe frustration and excitement, given that they were just standing and waiting for so long at the start line, and just waiting to let out all the frustration that they had. That's the best way I could put it itself. Otherwise, I don't see a reason why they're going so hard so early and at this stage of the race. So the Lekas segment is pretty unique in the sense that it mostly just straight line with a bit of a rolling, 2 big KOM segment, to and back to the finish line. Yeah, and it's pretty manageable for anyone. You know, if you're not so physically fit for this event, you can still join. Just keep to the left of the lane for the slower rider, and you'll be fine. And if you think you're really strong, you want to push yourself to the limit, go on the right hand side, just like you can see from some of the footage of these guys, how fast they're going on the right at the speed. Now I mind you, once again for everyone that needs some context itself, this isn't type of typical speed that usually you would do even at TMCR in Singapore. No, you don't really do this kind of speed itself even with a large peloton. There's just something magical that night during the class that everyone was able to ride in a very cooperative manner. Everyone was very respectful to the road, watching out for everybody, and most importantly, even at the speed we're going, there was an implied sense of trust, even with other riders that you do not ride with at all, to finish the event safely to the finish line. Yeah. So generally right now at the start, my other teammates, I would say like Coach Lian, Yip, and Asmir, they're probably at the front already because I took my own sweet time at the back to slowly clip in to actually have a safe line and build up a momentum on that. My thinking on this itself is that given my experience for the last 2 years, most of this peloton will always die off at the first KOM because it is really a hard segment for someone that don't train much, and it's not necessarily a KOM where you can just punch your way up easily with a 1-2 minute all-out effort. No, it does take longer than that. Something could be up to like, it does feel sometimes almost about 30 minutes or so for this KOM. Yeah, around that range. So it's important to pace yourself accordingly. Right now, my attitude at this part of the start of the race itself is just getting the rhythm and observing the general approach of the peloton, especially with many guys that are not riding. So you can start to hear some sound like all this is a warning. I think it's just generally nice that cyclists are warning other cyclists that there's potential hazard, like the roads will be that good, or the peloton is slowing down in front, or something that happened itself. But yeah, don't be too phased by it, by people making all this sort of noise. It can be a bit scary. Yeah, it can be scary, but don't be too phased. Take it easy. Look far ahead, just as if you'll be driving. Always look at the cyclist ahead of the cyclist in front of you. Yeah, to make the best decision. So I start to now slow into the middle because everyone's starting to go at a very constant speed, and what I look at is I look at cadence and I look at their body language itself, because usually where the peloton dictate the speed generally itself is by cyclists in terms of the way they ride, in terms of the posture, in terms of cadence, and more importantly I'm also looking at their energy level. You know, everyone's pretty fresh, so I think it's okay now to go back to the bunch on that. Of course it's dangerous. There's always a trust required when you go into the bunch that nobody screws up somewhere and cause a bunch crash or something along somewhere. That would be really unfortunate itself. But based on my gut, based on my observation and what I see around, everyone is pretty safe, pretty okay on that basis. Now, when you're riding alone in this sort of event, you're always looking for a familiar face for help, or even for a group to latch on and etc. Yeah, that's very normal. So for me at this stage itself is not to panic, but slowly get up to the front and find Coach Yip or Asmir or any of the other max bike guys that could have started ahead of me. So just slowly pedal along, work with everyone and get there. It's only the first 4.5 km of 78 kilometer ride for me, so still too early to panic or anything. There's still time until we reach the first KOM. One of the most important key things you gotta take note of is that when you're riding this sort of long event where sustained power is kind of important, you really do need to find your own rhythm and cadence that you can hang on for a long period of time. Most people are comfortable pumping out power in short bursts over a short duration of time on that. So instead of consistency in speed, it can be tricky to find something that suits your rhythm over the course of, let's say, a 78 kilometer ride like this. So what I'm focusing right now is actually just on two things. One is maintaining a low heart rate as much as possible, and number two, keeping a low cadence, say between 70 to 85 RPM, so that my heart do not work so hard and I can keep a low wattage to generate the necessary torque to keep up the rest of the peloton. I just want to stress this again, is that when you look at any of these long distance race where instead of being pure speed, it's actually more about endurance type of riding, energy management and conservation is actually the name of the game more than anything else. If you have the right posture, you have the right bike fit, you have the right tactical consideration plan for your route ahead itself, they all boils down to smarter energy management at the end of the day. So okay, we reached probably now the first half of the first 10 km, and I think this is where everyone's starting to go really fast. I just told someone to pace next to me. That is Zoo from Team Sam's Dragon. I knew him from earlier this year when he actually did a bike fitting at Max Bike itself. Team Sam's Dragon that I know of, they are pretty serious for this race, and I'm not going to try to win or try to do anything like that. I just want to test myself whether am I doing better than last year. So if I see there are some people that I can help, I'm more than happy to help them out for this race. It's just making sure that I have the right physical and mental fitness to help them instead of dragging them down on it. And I think on the left, the long jersey guy, the light green with the long socks, I think that is from the Geylang Cycling Club, led by our famous Mr. Hercules. Glad to see another familiar face that gives me some sort of confidence that okay, I'm not riding among stranger, I'm riding also beside a fellow Singaporean. And that on my extreme left you see Yip. I shouted to him. I know that he's had something difficulty following the peloton at some point, so I told him latch on to me, if possible find a way to weave it in. But of course it's hard, you can't just suddenly just weave into my lane, especially for Yip. You do need to spend a considerable amount of energy to fight your way through to get to the back. But of course, if you could do that, that would be great. But if not, ride safe as always, number one. Anyway, what I do see right now is that as we're approaching, I think this was the old, was it the bridge? No, it's not the bridge. Sorry, I'm just comment on this as I go along on that. But I know that, but I do know now that okay, Yap is with me, so Coach Lian is way in front at the moment right now. So no need to panic. Still early. Just go with the flow of the peloton to simply feel and understand what everyone is trying to do. All for it. And there's no reason to be at the very front and waste so much energy trying to be at the front, because you have to fight the wind for everybody and etc. So stick to the peloton inside, find a safe line, have enough spacing around to maneuver in the event that there's a potential crash up there or you need to get out of a sticky situation. You have it on that basis. If you're ever riding in this sort of ride where there's a lot of people in the same peloton with you on the red, or even on simply on your big group ride in your typical coffee weekend ride itself. One of the advice I will often give you is that if you really want to get a sense of how the entire group is riding itself, using this footage right now, this particular angle, I always look at way beyond the first row of rider in front of me. For example, I'm really looking at the riders at the distance of the signboard in front of me, because that could give me about maybe say another 2 to 3 seconds to make a quick decision in case anything do happen itself. Sometimes you have to look really far ahead, yeah, to come to a decision on what is suitable or what is safe for you to proceed. And I was thankful that if you look at the very front, there is a guy on the helmet. There's a red light on his helmet itself, and that is a very good gauge for me on a lot of things. Yeah, like in terms of perception of depth, distance, and etc. Understanding where to go for on that. Yeah. Another advice I also will give is that if you don't feel there's a need to, do not shout for the sake of doing so. Not only are you wasting energy by shouting out that loud, but you also, or rather might accidentally trigger some unnecessary response from the cyclists around you, because they could be suddenly shocked that someone shouting on the side, etc. and things like that, and sometimes all you need is just one bad reaction to your good intent, or rather good intention, and boom, there goes your race or your ride, unfortunately. Yeah. So the next thing you should always look out for, or rather personally for me, this is more of another tactic right now itself, is okay, now we're in the first 10 kilometers already. We have been going at this speed all night so far, and I presume this is where some folks are starting to get tired a little bit. They might fall back and look for help, etc. Right? So usually in Lekas, my experience has always been there are 3 lanes on the highway. The right lane will always be the fastest guys. On the right, left will be guys that are looking to be a bit slower instead of taking a break, and the middle peloton will be usually, the middle lane usually will be the steady, consistent rider itself at a set speed, and usually they are riding with their group of friends and etc. So again, I want to stress this is important, is that when you're riding this sort of ride, yes, even though if you're alone, you don't have friends or whatsoever, do not intentionally cut into other people's group or lane unless you have kindly give an indication that you intend to do so, it's safe to do so, and you're welcome to do that move. Yeah, the worst thing that can happen is there's a group of rider that they simply know how they roll with one another, they know how to cycle together because they had experience doing so, but you cutting in might affect them as an entire group, and that's pretty unpleasant for those guys over there. It is okay to lash on if you are at the very back, provided they allow you to do so, etc. Yeah, but usually in this sort of race, it's an unspoken rule: do not cut unnecessarily in the other people's group unless they have given you the go ahead to do so. Yeah. The way I've been moving around this entire peloton so far, while I've been looking forward straight, I will always be looking at the side just to see if there's any other stronger rider or group I can lash on, to be mindful of them and just give an indication that okay, this is what it has to be, or what I need to do to ensure I can ride safely and not endanger other people. I think you notice right now there's been a couple of shouting on the left, right, back and forth itself, partly for 2 reasons. Number one, I think there's some riders that find they're getting tired, they cannot keep at the pace, so if they slow down, they can't endanger the peloton at the very back. That's number one. And number two, we also have some riders, maybe from the 108 or 105 km start, they could not hang on, so they are slowing it down and they're keeping to the left. But on the left, if you notice, some of these riders, they are stronger, they also have some difficulty maneuvering, so they might need to cut to the right a little bit, which will bunch up the rest of the other peloton, and that can be a little bit dangerous if you don't experience how to do that on it. And also, we got to be fair to the other slower rider on the left, is that they have no idea what's coming from behind, and it's natural that you want to go to the extreme end of the road on the side to give way, but sometimes that also could endanger other riders that's coming at a certain speed. So therefore you can hear all these guys shouting, whoa, 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 you know, things like that as well. Yeah, but overall just gotta be careful. Anything can happen, but it's up to you to make a decision. Why is to be careful, etc. Okay. Alright, so now this part of the race itself, you can start to see the peloton, instead of being a very big wide fat peloton, is starting to become more and more like an arrow. It's becoming more and more streamlined itself. That's where I decided I want to be out of the main peloton. I make a tactical decision not to be there, because usually when it's streamlined, everyone is looking to save energy. You'll be riding much more considerably closer than everyone else, and since I still don't have a very good feel of this group of riders around me, how they are, I kept mostly to the side. It is okay, you will definitely be riding a little bit slower on the side because you could fight even more wind, more resistance itself, but remember, the end game is getting back to the finish line. There's no glory here if you can hit 65-70 km per hour on this stretch of road, you know, by getting to the potential accident or things like that. So it's simply not worth the duration. So we have to learn to move tactically on that basis. Yeah, I saw there was a slower rider. I told everyone you need to slow it down. I don't have time to look behind who's, you know, if there's any rider behind me or whatsoever. I do make an assumption that there could be someone behind, and it's my responsibility that I willingly inform them of it. Now for this part here, again, I want to apologize for this very weird camera angle. If you have an Insta360, you know, if you use the free manual mode of tracking itself, I just gotta apologize because I was really sleepy. Actually, the phone fell into my lap while I was recording this for a while. So yeah, and I was like, by the time I realized it, this was when I was doing the editing of CapCut already. So yeah, funny moment, but let's show how much I want to get this video out and to you guys very quickly, even though I was very tired after the race. So apologies for that. Okay, back to the race. If you just saw the guy on my right where he was spinning like a hamster, again, I'm not saying that that's wrong. If it suits you, go for it. Some people just prefer higher cadence to work around that. But I'm assuming right now is that any cyclist whose heart may not be that strong itself would definitely prefer a lower cadence with a higher resistance to push down the pedal in a controllable manner so that the heart rate stay consistent for that. That's kind of important. So I reckon he could be riding a 52 chain set. 52 chainring. And maybe if you rode a 54 or 56, it could be a bit more manageable for it, because he's already pedaling like a hamster, running out of gears already. And yeah, you see another shouting here and there, back and forth itself. I always wonder if it's really a genuine concern to shout for other rider, or they're just simply shouting to benefit themselves so that, you know, they can scare the rider and own their advantage and stuff. Yeah, that's a discussion for another day. Yeah. So again, I saw Zoo right in front of me. Finally, I called out to him himself, and he's a big sized man, so you know what to do. Dash behind any big sized man to draft as much as possible. And what I'm mindful of whenever I'm dropping somebody is I'm always looking at their cadence, looking at their knee on that to see whether are they stable on that basis. But what I do not want is someone, you know, pedaling really hard, really quickly, maybe going up a slope or something itself, looking that they are stable and things like that. But when they cannot handle the pressure and things goes out of control, and that's where you get caught badly about it. Yep. So I already paused the footage earlier, so now lashing back to here itself just to save some energy. This is just us now riding to the start of the KOM on that. So finally call out the coach on the left, and he's been doing steady on the left throughout itself. I think it's just safer because you can see further and make a better decision on that. I choose not to fight over the left to be with him. I'd rather be on the right, so that we both can monitor the race and just see what is the best approach to this up until the KOM on that. Yeah. So now that I know I have another teammate around me, I now feel safer to work with, even though it's not next to me itself. Yeah. Peloton was still going strong at this stage of the race. Pretty strong. Slowing down a little bit compared to the earlier start of 40 to 50 km per hour that you guys saw. Yeah. And this is much more I would say acceptable to me, because it's more of a controlled situation to ride with, much more manageable for everyone. Yeah. So I think everyone right now is just slowing down, realizing that there's no need to go fast anymore, saving energy for the first KOM, and everyone is just working together and streamlining to get to the first KOM. We have about another 7 km until the first KOM. Yeah. So just need to hang on steady together. Don't need to rush, don't need to do anything, just hang on steady. Everyone seems to be doing pretty okay and pretty stable so far. Yeah.
Right. Take it out.
This is so important that if I see something ahead, I keep telling guys to get out of the way. It's kind of important on that. And also just being courteous with other cyclists who will share the same road and the safety of each other. Sometimes, even though they may not be people that you work with, but just a simple hi, simple clear, simple thank you can make a big difference to your experience at the ride. Everyone is here to enjoy the ride. There's no reason for any ego. There's no reason for anything else other than happy vibes at the event and in a safe manner for everybody. Okay, as you can hear, Yep has finally found a way to get behind me after almost close to about, say, was it 6 or 7? About 6 or 7 kilometers to get to the back. So for some of you guys that have not experienced this as well, sometimes in a peloton, you can't exactly exert the kind of result you want very quickly. It takes time to achieve that. Like for Yep, the moment I passed and I told him to get onto my wheel, it took him that long, about 6 kilometers of distance before he could finally get to my back and hang on. So again, this is something to share with guys that don't really necessarily ride a big bunch ride like this, or in the big front of the peloton itself. This sort of thing are common when it comes to races. Yeah, so therefore there's a certain need to train the fitness. It's not so much about distance sometimes, it's also not so much about speed, but just these little things that make a difference to how you ride at such an event for yourself. And usually we call them racecraft. Of course, there's a lot more things we can talk about racecraft itself in little nuances of information or nuggets of information, but I'll keep it for another day. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to say thank you to anyone that is still watching as this part of the video itself, because it can be a long, draggy video. I recognize that. If there's anyone got some other good ideas on how can I make this even better for future commentary type of vlog such as this itself, I'm more than happy to hear what you guys have in mind. But yeah, once again, thank you so much for watching still at this stage of the video. please like, share and subscribe. That's all I ask from you guys, so that I know that there are people watching my content, and there will be motivation for me to work on material. So okay, now we saw the first bike baju rider on the left, which is good. I mean, they are always been strong. If you look at Alvin's video, you look at their vlog, or usually how they ride, it's always a blessing to see how are you riding beside them, or to get some confluence of your riding, that you are steady handling in pace with them on that basis. Yeah. So you can start to see now the pattern is slowing down a little bit itself, because we are now reaching the first foot of the KOM. And then it's starting to go 3-4% on that. Usually this is the part I will advise everyone, please be very careful. Most people are strong on flats, there are no doubt about it. Yeah, they are always very strong on flat. But climb is where it gets a little bit tricky itself, because it comes down to really about, can this particular cyclist find his rhythm, find his momentum, and also having the mental discipline not to surge unnecessary while maintaining that necessary rate of climb. We call that rate of climb, or VAM on your bike computer. Some of you may have that stats to ensure there's a consistency on that itself when you're climbing. So in my experience, most climbers, they like to power up really hard at the foot of the race. Just go really hard itself, and that's where it start to get dangerous, because if they start to lose the steam, start to lose the momentum or the rhythm, and they start to slow it down, you might be unintentionally caught behind. So if you look at the way I've been riding for this start of the KOM, I've been looking at guys that are more or less giving out the same type of level output, riding a certain level as me, going up for this climb. That's Kelly on the left. See? Actually, I'm sorry, that's not Kelly, that's someone else. It wasn't a lookalike. So sorry about that. But yeah, and you can see on the back just how much of the pattern has dropped when it comes to a KOM. So yeah, this is kind of important when you're riding this sort of stuff, this sort of climb. Always find your own space, find your own line, and practice whatever you've been practicing. If this is your climbing performance in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Thailand, or whatsoever, anyone that's a reference point, stick to it. Don't change unnecessarily just because you're at an event. No, your true preparation already begins during the training. Whatever happened during a race like this itself is sometimes just luck. There's nothing much you can do about it. But one thing you can always ensure is that if you produce the same type of result you've input for your training, you'll be totally fine. You can definitely meet that. And that's definitely Kelly. So Kelly was a very interesting storyline. We know Kelly back then from Maxbike. She's on Ipoh, yeah, and one of the strong female rider that I know of around, or I had the privilege to ride with in this region. I know that she's training very hard to win this race in the women's veterans category, and this is the KOM segment that we're going to lead her out to try. Yeah, because for me, I have nothing personal that I want to achieve other than breaking my own record for last year. Yeah, so seeing that Kelly is working to get there, I told her, you know what, let's show to me, let's try. Yeah, there's no personal glory, no personal honor or things like that itself in there, but it just feels good that okay, there's someone I can help to try to get a podium at least. Yeah, on that basis. So halfway through the climb already, another 3 kilometers to go before you hit the KOM marker, the Ultegra timing. Yeah, I was indicating to Kelly that I'm going to start to go more to the right and start to ramp up, because I'm seeing a gap, and that's the time we should really start to push out more wattage to drop the rest of the peloton as much as possible, so that on the recovery she get an advantage. Yeah. For some of the other riders, they are not so good with climbing. They are watching my video itself. Don't be disheartened. A lot of things can be trained. You know, you can train at a certain level to get here. Yeah, small practice will give you big result over time. Of course, there's definitely technique. There's also definitely some bike fitting knowledge that you need to have. You know, to understand how to best use your body from a biomechanics point of view itself to work on all this little stuff. So for the entire year in preparation for Lekas, going on the flats wasn't what I was practicing for in Singapore. I was always practicing on the climb because the KOM is what I'm trying to overcome as a weakness, since climbing wasn't never my strong suit at the very start in my cycling days. So those are the main focus I was trying to achieve here at this Lekas KOM. Yeah, so you can start to see that the peloton now is getting more and more quiet, most of them at the back, and those guys at the front, these are the guys I need to start marking, or I need to be very observant, because they have shown true grit, shown that they are here to try to win, and they're still gunning for this KOM even though they could have taken it easier and work hard on time trialing back to the finish. Yeah, so these are the guys that I've been mindful and watch with. Yeah, Kelly is still going strong, and that's good, but it was a bit unfortunate that I don't see any of our other teammates around, because it's a really high long climb for a lot of people. So my job at that time wasn't just thinking about myself, I was just making sure that Kelly was able to finish this KOM, and just to help out in case of any sticky situation she get in. Yeah, it's catching. You can hear me also breathing very loud right now at the back itself, because she also ramped up the pace a little bit, and it takes some time to generate that kind of torque. I ramp up too because I saw there was a front guy that just went past me, and that guy, I knew he had a lot of strength to go on, so I needed to make sure he was okay. And we are already reaching around there, and you can see the red marker, that's the KOM marker. In front of me is this nice little lady, she was the champion of the veteran group. Yeah, but Kelly managed to get the KOM ahead of her by 1 second or so. The green guy on the right, that's Kelly's teammate, and we are now heading towards the U-turn at kilometer 39. So from now onwards it's just purely straight line and downhill. Kelly will be catching a little bit of a breath. Yeah, but for me, I want to stay at the front of the peloton as much as possible, because when it comes to downhill, you do not ever want to be caught with a large group, because it's really dangerous and you don't have much to control. Okay, I don't know what was that for, but I mean, so the other guy, I mean the poor guy that just finished a KOM, I don't think he's lucid enough or energetic enough to take the right decision. So sometimes we can just play nice and not shout at them and make them more worried than necessary. Yeah, so just focus on yourself and focus on the race. As at this point, I was simply thinking if any of my other teammates are with me, like Yep or Coach Lian. So I recognized that they weren't there, so I have to make a point to stay with this front pack group and just hang on to them as long as possible until the main peloton caught back. So from here onwards itself, this will be the start of the downhill. Yeah, it may be below 1 or -1 or -2%. It may not seem like a lot, but over a long stretch of time, you can increase the speeds very significantly fast down this hill. And it's important to keep a clear line and ride your own when it comes downhill, and not trail behind anyone unless you are very confident and safe that they can do so. While I may not know the bike rider in front of me personally, but seeing their vlog enough on a regular basis on YouTube had given me an assurance that okay, I think they might know what they're doing, given that most of them have a lot of riding experience. So I'm confident to latch behind it for a while and ride my own line on that basis. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, never get caught behind someone unless you're absolutely sure of the other rider itself. For me, I'm riding open line. I may be slow on that, but at least I'm safe. Alright, that's pretty important. And I think somebody just dropped something because it's just gonna hit the front of my camera a little bit, but thankfully it wasn't something heavy or big, so all good, still all good. Yeah. When you're going downhill at this speed like this is sometimes there just isn't any more things to paddle. You realize that keeping a small frontal surface area is more important, like our dear Sand Dragon guy in front, yeah, with his illegal UCI maneuver or posture. Actually, no one really care, right? I mean, this is not a UCI event. There's no points to be earned or anything like that itself, but as long as once it's done in a safe manner and fun, I mean, that's all it matters for everyone, isn't it? So finally we came to the foot of this hill or climb. Now we are heading, just working together, yeah, heading to the first U-turn point at kilometer 39. So 10 more kilometers to go, or 11 more kilometers to go, yeah, before we hit that. And I can assure you right now, guys, that while I may not have it on footage, but the return journey for this 11 kilometer is very painful. It's you know, it's one of those where it really tests your mental to the limit. Yeah, because imagine the climb back this descent all the way after you had just done a super hard ride at the first half of the peloton with them. Okay, as you can see in footage right now, we are now curling to the left, and this is sort of going up into another upslope for quite a while. So you don't see me paddling as hard as these guys at the start, or like just not earlier, simply because everyone is going to get slowed down eventually. There's no reason to waste so much energy to get the top of this climb back quick, because there's going to be a U-turn right up ahead. Yeah, so the trick is to just stay consistent here, keep going, just be consistent, and you should be able to manage your effort relatively easy from the downhill momentum itself. Yeah. Whoa. Okay, that was my fault. I literally didn't even see that guy in front. I was too focused on the guys on the right and this black 3/4 bit gentleman in front of me. I didn't even see the guy on the left, so that was my fault. Yeah. So far so good. Oh, okay. Everyone seems to be slowing down the peloton, working together to get to that. And yeah, This is also another teaser for you guys, especially for those that have been watching the footage so far as well. If you notice, guys or the cyclists around me that have been doing out this KOM really fast and consistently as well, maybe rewind the footage, have a look, you know, observe their heel. Yeah, observe their heel as they are going up these climbs. You'll notice something very interesting between the riders that tip their toe down versus riders that drop their heel as they climb. You will start to see some very interesting observation, once you rewind the footage. And it's back, and you can ask yourself the question: is this simply more effective, or is it a habit, or is it something more than that? Okay, we have just passed the U-turn. So this is me resuming the footage itself because I just thought that U-turn is nothing interesting, so I turned off to save some battery. Now some of you may wonder, Dexter, it's only 38.5 km on your telemetry. You know, why did you say you have passed U-turn at kilometer 39? Well, just remember guys, I started my recording a little bit later. So essentially right now, the actual distance could be around say 41 or 42 kilometer already. It should be around there because I started late on that. So that's the discrepancy with the distance on that. And then the rest of the telemetry are quite accurate. You now update more consistently on that basis itself. So on the return journey I mentioned earlier, what goes down must goes up. So this is a very long, tortuous ride back to the very top. And this is where I feel that, you know, if you really want to go for a win, you want to go and be on the podium, this segment is very crucial. This whole segment, all the way back to kilometer 68, this long 68 kilometer, this 30 km is very crucial to show your character as a rider. Where do you want to be at the end of this race? What are you willing to do to get there on that basis? Because your body at this point, at the intensity you are riding, based on the footage itself, that is going to send shock to a lot of people that don't train regularly or are not fit enough for this style of ride. But that is where the key difference comes in for most of these riders. They're looking to be at the very top, or at least at the very front of their result. So usually by the U-turn, as every other year that I take part in, by the U-turn, the peloton just gets thinned out significantly. You probably usually see a one single line peloton heading back to the finish line, and I would say this is probably like the third group of the peloton. Now we are heading back to the finish line. I think the first two groups already went, and why do I say this? Because when I was reviewing back the result, based on the timing, a difference of about 4 minutes from the first group of winner, I think we have already had a big difference in terms of placement for the peloton. We're still considered at the front by the majority of how the ride is going so far with the race intensity and pace. Definitely we're still in front, but just that I think that now we're in the third peloton fighting among ourselves to try to get back to that, to be placed at least within the top 100 for this category. So I'm tightening my shoe over here is because I have already studied this course enough and experienced enough many times that this is your own solo segment, your time trial back to the finish line, or at least to the 68 kilometer mark for the second resting stop. Because this is where the peloton really gets thinned out significantly, and most people could not keep up here with a higher ride intensity against a much more steeper gradient and a much more fatigued mind and body towards the finish line. If you start to notice in my footage at this part of the ride right now, I'm starting to be placing more and more at the middle of the peloton in terms of line rather than the outside compared to the start of the peloton. This is because I've seen these regular faces jersey and cyclists around with me for the last 20 kilometers or so, so I know we are more or less in the same standard together, with the same ability to ride together itself. So yeah, so this is where I start to feel like, okay, we can be a bit more aggressive in the riding, yeah, because they've been riding with them for a while. I observe them, and I think they're generally okay to ride with in this group and this speed together. So I'm starting to get much more closer to them for this very reason. If you kindly look to my left, just now earlier, you should have seen the mini Velo with the small wheel on it. I have no idea how this guy does it, but kudos to him. Even when I see him on his mini Velo, I feel tired right away for this type of race. Yeah, but yeah, kudos to small wheels too. They definitely can play a part or be a part of this sort of event if they can keep up with the bigger guys for it. Well, look at that, it's a small wheel, small mini Velo again. Wow. Maybe I think that guy is riding a 56 Chainring on it. Oh wow. No way, I even though I own a mini Velo before, but I don't think I can keep up at this speed at this pace. With that, no way. So this guy, I salute this gentleman for what he's riding on the cars. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, it's okay to be courteous. Just a simple thank you can go a long way for me and the other gentlemen. Yeah, in this sort of race itself, there's no reason to be hostile. There's no reason to have an ego, or that I own the road or he owned the road, or anything like that. We are all here together for just one night of fun ride on the highway once a year. So yeah, just keeping it real together and enjoying it. Share the road safely for everybody. So right now we are about to head back towards where we did the first KOM segment. Now it's the reverse direction itself, and I'm about to employ my own personal tactic on this. This is what I call swing descent motion. So basically what I saw was that there was the same Team Sand Dragon guy he was on his unique position. Yeah, as you can see on the footage if I'm doing the long drop itself. I know there's going to be a long downhill, even though it's late at night, visibility is a bit low. I can see there's going to be a long downhill. I do not want to get caught at the back. I want to use momentum to pedal up, ram it up, and swing to the front easily. And that gave me easy, maybe say about 20, 30, 40 riders position easy to the front. Yeah, and why do I want to do that again? Is because we're not going to approach the KOM. You want to be clear of everybody in the KOM and be at the front. You set your own pace, you set your heart pace, and just go for it. Yeah, and yeah, as you can see now the slopes start to get steeper on it, and now they swing to the front with that little people itself. Now it's my game, and this is what I've been training for the entire year. It's not to do a KOM when you are fresh, but to do a KM when you are exhausted after battling that kind of speed. Alright, so yeah, this is time for me to go hard on that basis itself. Yeah. Again, don't be discouraged. There are other many faster riders than you itself, because a KM is you battling against gravity and nothing else. Yeah. I told coach now to pace with me, simply because he did the front of the work already after the U-turn, so it should be my responsibility right now to be at the front. And mind you, a year ago I could not even give this sort of simple instruction because I simply do not have the strength and mental capacity to sacrifice. I won't say sacrifice, but to help other teammates on that. So yeah, so now this has become part of the race, and this is where I decided to go and do what I've been doing at Mandai, Sasoi, Rifle Range in Singapore, that you guys all know of, and to employ the same freaking tactic as well for the next 30 minutes. Just long climb again. I would say 30, maybe about 25 or 20 minutes or so, but just keeping the duration long enough, yeah, to be at the front. Because if I can get to the top faster than everyone else, yeah, I can work a bit lesser to stay at the front and reduce the risk of getting dropped by the peloton when we have about 5 kilometers back to the finish line. Yeah.
没有力，慢慢骑啊，慢慢骑啊。你在我后面，你省力，我帮你，我要拉你们去前面。我们要赢，我是帮你们赢。
You guys can see now from the back of the footage is there that has such a, I won't say such a big gap, but a big gap enough based on the reward of that faster K1 segment that I did earlier. Yeah, so now it becomes much more easier for me to stay at the front to stop the other group that's in front of us. So at the start of the second KOM earlier on, there was a bunch of group that actually went ahead earlier itself. I think there was like 4 to 5 gentlemen ahead. That became my personal goal, to try to catch them and slow it down, because I know for myself what level of capability I have worked on for the entire year for KOM, and this was my ultimate test more than anything else when it comes to Lekas for preparation. This KOM was an important testament to whether the low cadence training did pay off at the end. Did whatever I learned, did whatever I tested, including equipment choice, things like that as well, whether they work, it's all come pointed to this very moment. So Now back to the second KOM, as you can see 4%, you will ramp up to 5% at some point, but it's important to keep it steady, keep your upper body locked, and when you pedal, don't waste too much energy swinging left and right. I do, because it's just me being stupid and trying to pedal as hard as I can to the very top to go over to catch those gentlemen at the front. And there was also no one else that I could pace with, because if you look at it, everyone on the left hand side was just dropping down and just dropping and dropping. I'm not sure if they're from the same pedal I asked earlier on, or they were from the other 105 group that we finally called to them and etc. But there was simply no one I could pace with, because if I pace that they are pacing going out this hill, the back peloton is going to catch up, and then there's no way for me to go and slow the front group in front. Thankfully, this gentleman here, this young uncle, giving me a little bit of encouragement. He was looking to pace me, and thankfully he helped me on the way back to the finish line. We both literally walk with one another, even though we are strangers, but we understand that it's important to pace together, have a bit of motivation for one another, yeah, to get out of this sticky hill, as I call it. Okay, this is definitely a very strong rider. If you look at the speed sign, the ramp up and the power at the ramp up kept up with him, it was a good pace. Not for the draft, but simply having the right momentum now to ride. Yeah, he's strong. At the pace it's going right now, I reckon that very soon we might be able to catch that front group of gentlemen that roll away from us on the initial downhill before the start of the second KOM. So yeah, it took about,
hang on,
almost take about 5 km or so, 4 or 5 km or so, just to catch back the other group. So sometimes cycling is not really...
Hang on. Hang on.
Little more encouragement, but I realized that maybe I shouldn't encourage so much, because all of a sudden he went kaboom. And yeah, I think I paid the price for it. He ran really hard itself. Yeah, but as what I was saying is that cycling is sometimes it's not a game of immediate result. It's a long game. There are things that you gotta plan ahead of time and hope for the result to come in your favor. And I think that's where cycling experience really comes into play when you come to a race such as this. Yeah, it's not the little things, sometimes it's also planning far ahead, just like the same when you're doing your training, schedule and block ahead of time. And yeah, this gentleman ahead of me, I have no idea what wattage putting and something like that, but we call out to the 4 guys in front here that was part of the initial breakaway group from us at the foot of the second KOM coming back. So kudos to him for leading us out and touching on. I have simply no idea till now how did he find the motivation to do this. I don't know if it's my word or he drank something secretly but I didn't see or what, but yeah, you really sometimes meet amazing people during cycling event like this. Some amazing human like that. Just gotta hang a little bit more. I think about another 2 or 3 more lampposts. That's the start of the descent. We just have to hang on. Once we hit the descent, we'll go back to the toll plaza booth itself. Yeah, and pretty much from here to there is all downhill, all flats really. We just gotta hang on until this whole booth. Yeah. So now that I approach kilometer close to 49, I remember this segment here onwards again is all going to be downhill. I didn't want to be in front all the way. I wanted the gentleman behind me to work a little bit as well. So I took like a quick pause on it and get him to walk in front of me a little bit. But the truth is we are all going to go downhill very soon from here, so makes sense to just be behind him and save some energy to conserve, yeah, for the final 5 km back to the finish line. Yeah, it's just, you know, a little bit of tactical decision here. So I could be in front all the way, but yeah, I think it wasn't worth to burn all the energy, and this gentleman in front of me earlier has not been working or taking the role to work for us since the start of the second KOM coming back. So sorry, since the near the end, or rather near halfway mark of the second KOM coming back. Yeah. The KOM marker now on the right, so we have now officially passed maybe the halfway mark of the entire, or maybe almost 3/4, maybe 3/5 of the race itself, though 2/5 more of the race to go. Yeah, so this is where you can essentially call it your own time trial mode already, because I have not been with the peloton. I already broke away with them trying to catch the front group. Unfortunately the front group left already, so it's up to me and this gentleman behind me itself to work together to try to close that gap at least. Because what I'm thinking right now is, if I could get to the front of the peloton that's not ahead, the breakaway group ahead itself, there could be a chance that I may be able to slow them down a little bit and let the peloton catch up on that, hopefully for some of the other teammates to get better standing, also hopefully maybe for Kelly to get a better result there, etc. Yeah, but it's hard to make all this correct decision when you are really fatigued sometimes and you don't have a radio, no one telling you what's going on, things like that. So yeah. Okay, so unfortunately my battery has run out, so I have kindly asked Coach Lian for his footage for it. So you can essentially say that this is the last, say, 7 to 5 kilometer back to the peloton. Yeah, so if they finally call up, I have already worked enough to catch the breakaway group to slow them down, and yeah, managed to get the peloton to kind of join back with us to now head to the finish line together. So essentially I would say this self-responsibility that I've imposed on myself, it works so far. This wasn't planned. It was definitely never planned or discussed ahead of time, but it's just something that happened during the ride itself, and I'm definitely not gunning for podium or anything. So I'm like, okay, let's help those guys that have an opportunity to do so. So at this final stage of the ride right now, essentially it's just me. I won't say I'm doing a lead out, but sort of like a lead out role for Coach Lian, hopefully for him to at least hit the top 15 in terms of placing for the men veteran, and also for Kelly, who's actually in front of me. She's now with a teammate, so that's good. Trying to pace them back all the way, maybe to the last 1 kilometer or so, where they can start to launch their attack to the finish line. Yeah, and this part normally you have to be very careful, because this is where the speed really ramp up. Everyone's intensity goes really high on that because they are going closer and closer to the finish line. So got to be very careful. You just got to find your placing, keep it, maintain, and plan ahead of time when you want to launch your final sprint to the finish line. At this point you can start to see everyone is trying to get feel for one another. who's gonna do what, who's gonna be in front, everyone's kind of calculating. And by Baju has their Asia group on the left. Kudos to them, they are really strong. They start on the left, forming a second line with this peloton, and going forward to launch ahead, getting themselves ready for the sprint. Yeah. So normally for people that are not really at the front of the peloton, that don't have much of the riding experience of it itself, essentially this is just everyone now getting ready to sprint, but they're feeling the position, like understanding where can they find a clear line, understanding where they should be, and things like that itself, just to launch for it. It's okay if you're not at the very front yet still, because you're trying to conserve energy, but if you do the right move, which you'll see in the footage later on for Coach DN, you can easily launch yourself ahead of time with a clear line and gain yourself massive position ahead. Of course, these are all experience based on racecraft and strategy. Yeah. So I think this next footage we are coming really near to the end already itself. I would say it's like probably the final 2 kilometers to the end. Yeah, everyone's getting ready, taking a last sip of water, maybe gel or whatsoever. Yeah, getting ready. Even I myself, I'm also prepping ahead to do the final lead out for Coach D, and I also maybe for Kelly if she happened to get behind me in need of a final rest on that. So once again, thank you guys for watching to this part of the video. It's been a really long one. Yeah, I know I may be a bit boring with a lot of my commentary and stuff, but that's what I thought I could do to at least keep this video interesting, so that you understand at least what goes through in our mind when we're riding this sort of ride based on this typical course, and what to expect and prep leading up to this very moment when we are this close to the finish line. So yeah, you guys can see definitely I'm in front right now, way ahead of Kelly as well. So this is where the moment needs to be kick in, where I need to start finding a line to punch in to the finish line. I think this is about 1.5 kilometers more to go to the finish line, and this is where everything will start to ramp up. It's important. You can start to see guys that have the momentum, that are ramping up and things like that. They are using that to punch through according to it. I already done my part by keeping my line on the left of this side of the peloton free as much as possible. So once I see Kelly and once I see Coach going forward itself, yeah, I'm pretty happy, because I know I've done my part, I've done my job. So I just needed to make sure that they're okay, that they can find a way to punch, and I can slow down the rest of the other group as much as possible. Yeah. So again, this is all racecraft. I don't expect anyone to understand this that easily. But we at a peloton at this speed, I think this will going about 43, 44, 45, etc. Yeah. One small mistake could be very costly. So my job was there, just to punch through the line, create an opening for Coach. The moment you see that, okay, I'm done. My job is completed. I just need to hang on with this group to go to the finish line and not lose too much time. And thankfully, Coach found that line that I created ahead, latch on to the other faster group, and now it's going to sprint to the finish. Kelly is there with me also as well, but she's trying to hang on to get ready for the sprint, because this is a very long sprint, at least about 800 meters. 800 meters or so of sprint itself. And I knew I didn't have the legs for it because I crashed a month ago before this race. I didn't have the necessary prep time for it, so I never even considered this part of my preparation for it. So kudos to everyone that watched this video. Thank you so much. We reached back to the finish line safely, happily, and probably one of the best races I ever had done in the last 3 years. Really happy. All the training pay off, and I think everyone came here having achieved what they want to achieve for this race, whether it's a personal record, team glory or whatsoever. Definitely leave on a high note for this event. Alright, I hope my commentary for this has been interesting so far. You guys pick out a couple of tips here and there, so on and so forth. So yeah, please sit back and enjoy other footage yourself that we have collected from the event for your viewing pleasure. And I hope to see you guys again at Lekas, and shout out to the organizer, to RHB, to Lekas organizing community, and most importantly to MaxBike, yeah, for hosting us and helping us to prep ahead of time, at least 4 to 5 days before the race. Yeah, enjoy for this event. Really, really good. Thanks everyone. Cheers.
That was Kenny, of course. You're walking home with the 600 and above.
So we just finished Lekas. It's our second year, and I think today there's no rain, so it's perfect. But we have a better news. The youngest participant got the winner.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
There you go.
one of
Congratulations.
those
Thank you.
S.
Well, we want to congratulate Crystal. Crystal finally won the junior division. Raise your hand. Perfect. Thank you very much for KC for making the dream happen. Finally, after so many years of planning, it finally happened. So this guy did all the hard work. She did all the buffet shop with training. Our friends over here. Asmin, as usual. Okay, let's take a quick 1, 2, 3. Thank you, sir.
Okay.